questions? I have one right here.
I have a two-part question. First is, have best practices, what do you guys think are the best practices, and what do you practice at your firm in terms of, is it best to approach the sponsor or the marketer first with an idea, or is it best to approach the marketer with your credentials and say, let's develop something together? And then the second part of the question is, it seems from the outside looking in that the pie of money that goes around to all of the different people that need to share in it, YouTube, you guys, the brand, the actors, producers, etc., is smaller. And do you think that the economic pie is sort of sustainable?
Okay. Most of the time, no on the economic pie, which is why doing any of these as a standalone makes absolutely no sense. Because the money we made from this is not the money that can support a business. We ultimately did this because we had started it with Google before we had started to develop our big brands like Wonderwall and others. And as we were doing it, we realized Narrow World could actually be a brand that will be able to live in these other businesses that we're creating. But the big problem with this type of content is you've got the distributor, if there is one, you've got the content creator, you've got the talent, and it's all, in the end of the day, funded by the brand. There is not enough money to go around to really build, in my view, a scalable business. And that's been one of the real impediments to why we're not seeing more and more and more of this. Why isn't it exploding? Because it doesn't make economic sense. Now, if we had a big Wonderwall type portal where this lived as part of the matrix of content that's part of that portal, that's a whole different ballgame. Because then, even though maybe we're not getting rich off doing Narrow World, it's, at the end of the day, it's part of what is creating and supporting a business that is a fantastic, big, scalable business. And that's how we approach it, is how can we create programs like this that live as part of our bigger brands? So that's the answer to two. In terms of both great questions. The first question is, the danger with going to the brands first is you really run the risk, strong risk, that at the end of the day, what the brand's going to want is something that hits all of their brand attributes. It's got to have this, and it's got to have that, it's got to show we can do this, it's got to show we can do that. All right, all that's fantastic, but guess what? If it's a video that no one watches, what have you gained? We could do a video that hits every single attribute of your brand over the head, but if nobody cares because no one wants to watch it, you're starting from the wrong place. This stuff has to start with, is there something that people are going to want to look at or read or consume in some way, shape, or form? The answer to that has to be yes. You have to have something where the users are going to want it. Now, once you have that, I do believe in bringing the brands in at the earliest possible moment, if it's a brand that really can be a partner in the process. Not every brand can, not every agency can. Everybody says they want to be, but I'm telling you, some can and some can't. And if the ones that can, it's fantastic, because you can together really come up with fantastic. We had a great experience with Palm in terms of figuring out these integrations, and they gave us enormous latitude in terms of how to do it. So if it can really be a give and take where the ultimate understanding is that the video show, whatever else you're doing, has to be fantastic, first and foremost. Now let's figure out how to take that brand and hit all those attributes and do all those things, but in the context of this compelling content, then you're in. What I don't believe in doing is finishing the program and the TV model of, okay, guys, go sell it. Because we're past that in media in general. I don't think TV is going to be sold that way in 5 years either. But here's the problem, okay? The ad agencies haven't evolved to this point either. So everybody, I think, has work to do, in my opinion, to get to the place where it becomes the real partnership that it is going to become. Brands are going to have a bigger and bigger stake, in my mind, in content, in television, online, in mobile, across the board. But the really smart brands are going to understand that content comes first, and how do we very smartly integrate into that content.
Any other questions? Anyone here?
Sure. Back on your Wonderwall being a window or some kind of business, if Microsoft or Google or Yahoo or whomever's driving all the traffic, why will that evolve into an attractive business model?
Well, the fact that they drive the traffic has nothing to do with the economics that result from the traffic that we're getting. I mean, we're out selling advertising and monetizing the site. Revenue comes in. It supports the infrastructure and obviously supports the business. But you only get to that point by having the traffic. And we're creating the traffic around an area that beforehand didn't exist. And we're selling the site at CPMs that they previously weren't getting. So all of that adds up to a good business.
So I have one final, I think, last question, and then we'll see if there's another one. But so you touched on it a little bit, content's going to evolve and brands are going to have a much greater role in it in the future. How do you see content changing in the next 10 years? And maybe it's going to be shorter, it's going to be longer, it's going to have more or less celebrity. How is it going to change?
Well, I think there's still going to be movies, there's still going to be hour-long TV shows, there's going to be half-hour comedies. There'll be new forms. So there'll be short form, there'll be mobile content that is compelling in some way, shape, or form. I think the next really challenging frontier for everyone is going to be when convergence actually finally happens, and you can actually get high def through the internet on your big screen TV at home. There are so many ramifications to that. What happens does that mean I can watch, why do I need cable if I can watch Hulu and get these shows? I mean, there are a million questions that are going to come from that. So that's all going to have to be figured out. But my feeling, listen, radio didn't go away. Everyone thought radio was going to go away when TV came along. What happens is these platforms simply add another layer of content to the mix and another way that this content is distributed. And, no one can predict, what the next, listen, we're nowhere in mobile still, and the rest of the world is very advanced. So it's no secret that there's going to be a huge explosion in mobile in this country in the next 5 to 10 years. Huge. And so there's an enormous appetite in mobile ads, hence the company you guys just bought. There's going to be an enormous opportunity in mobile content. And I'd say that in terms of that's the frontier for us over the next few years. And then where it goes beyond that is going to depend on, what Google and Microsoft and Steve Jobs and all the other technological geniuses roll out.
Right. All right. Well, I think with that, I want to say thank you, Lloyd, for joining us
Sure.
for Fireside Chat. Thank you.